That we got clothes that we don't worry about getting dirtied, we'll go ahead and start out. Just make sure, yeah, we got a little bit of dust on here. Kind of clean it off. Make sure the area is as clean as possible. Now for the first step, I suggest doing is taking a look at the background, at the area of where you plan on painting. So what we're going to do first off, find us a brush that we can use. Always, find the brushes you like to use. Find different tips, different angles, just different things that really suit how you paint. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make me a little spot here. I'm going to start off with the background. I'm going to use some of the cobalt blue, some of the Payne's gray, some of this white. As you can see, it kind of makes it a nice, barely lightens it, but doesn't lighten it as much as the white. Now we got a bunch of green in there, so we're going to add just a little bit of this green, give us a nice darkening effect. And lastly, just add a tad little bit of black. You really want to mix your colors on how you would like your card to look. Now, trial and error, add a little bit of water, just because this part doesn't have to be perfect. You're just starting off with the backdrop in the background area of the card. Now this one we're going to do a kind of a full extension on. I'm going to just put this lightly around all the edges. Try not to get too much on the card itself. We're going to be blending into that later. So for right now, just slowly work around your edges. Try to keep things as clean as possible. If you mess up, that's not a big problem. We've got tools that we can use to clean that up later. Alright, so there we have it. We've got this edge painted. And you just want to, I like to start with the backdrop first, get that painted, and then slowly extend out everything else. Now, one great tip is always clean off your brushes after you use them, so they're not building up gunk on them and they're not sitting in the water and ruining your brushes. Now if we take a look at this, it slowly blends into a pseudo light greenish color. So we're going to go ahead, we've got still a little bit left in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of white. And don't be afraid to mess around with some colors. Mix some colors up. See how they look for you. It's not a big deal if you waste a little bit of paint, just so you can get a feel for what you're going to actually be painting. We got our blue in here. We're going to add just a little bit more green until we get the color we really want. Alright, so it looks like there's some darks in there. Some darker colors, some darker blues, some darker greens, and some really different hues. So this is what we're working for right now, is kind of a dark turquoise, I guess, or really nice hue to the card. Now I'm going to slowly blend that in. Work on that a little, so it does have a slight little touch of white to it. So what we're going to do is going to blend in that a little bit and slowly blend that out. And bring that all the way to the edge of the card. It doesn't matter if you overlap at this point, because we're just working on the backdrop. Now if you see there, I'll show you, I'll bring the card over in just a moment here. See, we're slowly working it. Now if you see, we've painted there, we've got the colors, and we've got that hue kind of right underneath her cape. We'll keep working that out, and you just slowly find the right consistency that you like to use. The thinner the paint, the better, but the thinner the paint you go, the more and more you'll have to layer and layer and layer. And now you want is to get it so that a judge will allow it in tournament play. It needs to be as thin as absolutely possible. Usually what I've seen most judges do is shuffle it in to the deck and see if they can find out where the card's at if they cut it a few times. Always make sure you are cleaning off your brushes, like I said before. A clean brush will last you years and years and years. If you let it sit there and soak in the water, it's going to get ruined. So we're just creating this first basic layer, and as you see, I am working onto the card. So we'll go ahead and get that zoomed in, let you kind of see me work on the card itself. We're just slowly working these edges. We've got that light color that kind of comes out a little bit. And so we're going to bring that out, kind of follow the same pattern that's on the card. You see it pulls and kind of pulls and kind of expands the colorization out towards the outside of the card. And don't be afraid. If you mess up on the colors a little bit, that's why we got the eraser. Like, I've got a little spot here. I'll kind of show you what I do when I have a few areas that are not exactly what I'm looking for. Now I've got my tool here, and as you see, I got something I don't want. So you're cleaning that off pretty well, just slowly blending that. Alright, just going to work that area. If you see something you really don't like, try to get it off as soon as possible. Because the longer you keep that on there, the paint will actually settle and become unable to be worked with. So as you see, we're kind of pulling this out, pulling it down. Now this is just the first base coating. And this kind of comes out throughout the card. Now since we're just doing an extension, we're just going to do a base extension for right now. Add a few little extra things here and there on the card. She's kind of got these things exploding up here. Looks like her hand, well, actually it looks like her hand is being torn apart. So we'll kind of work that in a little bit, bring some extra lightning maybe, or bring a few other hues and some other play around with really what's on the card itself, just to give it that little extra special feeling. Now I'm just kind of blending this out. Now as you see, it gets darker over here, so we're going to add a little bit more of this gray. And kind of work that in. And we'll bring some extra colors and everything in here a little bit later, once we get the cards exactly where we are looking for it. Now if your colors aren't matching immediately, don't worry about it. Just just play around with your colors. That's why I say work in a slow, steady pace, and just play around with your paint. If you need to, go ahead and make yourself a color palette. Take each one of your paints, just kind of paint a little area on a piece of cardboard or on a piece of paper, and kind of see how it looks and see what happens when you play around with the color. I mean, that's going to be your very best option, is just to get a feel for the paints, get a feel for what they look like on your cards, and get a feel for how your brushes work. Find the very best brush that fits your needs. Now we're going to kind of let that dry a little bit and kind of work on our basic outline of our cape here. Now our cape, if we look at it, our cape's got a lot of greens, some light greens, and some dark blacks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a nice round brush, kind of bring out those colors a little bit and let us kind of play with it somewhat. So we're going to take our basic black, kind of work some of this color that we already have in, work that around, and kind of see how we're looking. Alright, so we're going to need it a little bit darker. So what we do is, while that's still wet, we're going to blend in that color. Now, as you see on this specific type of card, it really blends together, more of a pixelized, kind of a pixelized feel to it. And so we're going to work with that and slowly blend in some other colors. So we're going to keep our black down a little bit. We're just using the black as kind of a hard line for these shadows. Now, like I said, don't be afraid to bring it onto the picture itself. That's just going to help your, if you bring that paint onto the picture itself, it's just going to help that blend in so much better, especially in the long run. And when you're looking at the card, you'll be able to tell specifically where you've painted and where you haven't if you just paint the borders themselves. So yeah, really bring that in. Get a little bit more black here, kind of get a little bit wet. Now if we take a look at where the cape's going, she's kind of got a shadow coming out a little bit here. So we want to play with that lighting a little bit. Alright, so now what we're going to do, now that we've got our basic black shadowing in place, we're going to play with kind of the granulating texture that kind of comes in. So I'm going to add a little bit the black, just slowly blending it. Since it does look pixelated, you can kind of press your brush down. Get a brush that you're not too worried about, and just slowly work that color until you get it the right hues and the right mixtures that you're looking for. Now, as you see here, I'm working back and forth between colors just so I can get that right mixture and that right feel on the card itself. Just remember, a tiny little bit of white goes a long way. Just keep in mind that really mixing it, kind of feeling it, getting a feel really for how the card looks. So we got that white in there, that little bit of highlight. We're just going to try to bring that out. Alright, we'll go ahead, take a little break. Stay tuned for the next video and we'll finish up our altar.